Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Conversations with Belle. I am Belle Morgan. This is where we discuss real life issues in a meaningful way. Today, we are joined again with Mr. Tre Amazing, who we love to have here. Welcome, Tre. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for having me again.
Awesome, awesome. Tre is the co founder of Ringside LLC. So, could you tell us a little bit about Ringside?
Sure. Ringside, which has been in existence since 2009, started off as a live event, but it's mostly known as a digital community where we invite outspoken, over the top, and opinionated men and women to come together and debate topics germane to singlehood, dating, marriage, sex, kink, and fetish. And it's an opportunity for people to learn directly from the horse's mouth the opinions and thoughts and rationales of people in their dating pool, which adds value in a sense where you begin to understand how the opposite sex thinks, and you can take those perspectives and apply it to your own dating lives for better success.
Awesome, awesome. And before we begin, because today we're going to be talking about computer love, everybody remembers the Zap song, right? This is where I got the idea from. But before we talk about that, I do want to shout out Tuskegee University for defeating Morehouse College this past weekend at the NBA All Star HBCU Classic in Oakland. So shouts out to Tuskegee University.
You folks just
Shouts out to
lucky. It was
Morehouse
a lucky
College.
weekend. We
It
just,
was a
it was
very
just
good
a
look.
lucky weekend.
It was a very good look for both universities.
Come on, Maroon Tigers. We got it. We got to do better. We got to step it up.
So online dating, let's jump right into that. Online
Okay.
dating, do you think it's a good thing or do you think it's a bad thing?
It's what you make it.
Mhm,
Online dating does not have to be the one and only. It can be just it can be something in addition to.
mhm,
So even when many years ago when I was heavily into online dating for me was never a replacement for genuine interactions out in public. If I'm out at the mall or any kind of social event, networking event, whatever the case may be, it wasn't a replacement. It was just in addition to or an alternative. And so using it as, look, I have, this is one way I can meet women. Here's another way I can meet women.
mhm,
For some people, you do have individuals out there who are so immersed into the internet and online dating because they may not have the social skills necessary to approach someone or even engage in a conversation out in the real world, out in public. So some people, they feel like the only way they can meet someone or to really, I guess, have any type of success is through online dating, which, my attitude is if it works for you, if it's giving you the results you're looking for, then who am I to say otherwise? But I would tell anyone you don't have to confine yourself just to online dating. Use it as a tool, but it shouldn't, replace genuine, organic interactions because again, you can meet the love of your life at Piggly Wiggly. You know, you can meet them anywhere. You can meet them at a sports event, um, meet them at a football game. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
But for some people, online dating, that's their end all be all. That's the alpha and omega of their dating prospects.
I think everyone knows a success story, right? Like, and that's
Mhm.
what they reference when they decide to use a dating app, right? And I'm not going
Mhm.
to mention any because none of them are paying me. But you can Google the apps, right? So
Mhm.
everyone always references, I know this person who met this guy or met this girl and now they're married and blah blah blah. I
Mhm.
am as a woman, I'm a little less I'm leery. I'm
Mhm.
more leery of the apps because what I have found, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I have used dating apps before. I'm no longer on them. But when
Mhm.
I did use dating apps, I found that the quality, I'll just say that the quality left much to be desired. And
Right.
also found that many were very dishonest, you know,
Very
about
easy to be
right.
dishonest.
Yeah, very dishonest about what they were looking for. And, you know, I guess we could roll into the cons first. So what I found is that, like I said, people were very dishonest about that what they were actually looking for, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm saying I'm looking for a long-term relationship or even marriage, um, they would have that as well because I wouldn't even click on the profile if they didn't. But as time moved along and as you chatted or dated or whatever, you could tell he doesn't a bit more, as my mother would say, he didn't a bit more want to be in a relationship than a man in the moon, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, no, agreeing with you or mirroring what's on your
mhm,
profile is how to get their foot in the door.
yeah,
It doesn't mean that that's what they want, but they know that's what you're looking for. That's what they know will get clicks.
right.
But we have to understand that these apps that are out there, and there many out there like that. Some more geared to certain niche population, whatever.
Mhm,
But they're not going away because everyone's hand is glued to their iPhone or Android.
mhm.
Even when you're at home, let's face it, I mean, even when you're at the house, we tend to always look down on her cell phones.
Yes.
So it's never going to go away because for some people, even when they're sitting on the toilet, they can swipe left, swipe right,
Mhm,
whatever the case may be. But you're absolutely right. With online dating, it gives more of an opportunity to lie about, well, a few different things, lie about
mhm.
what you're looking for. It also gives an opportunity to lie about what you look like. Um, I've had that terrible experience. Even years ago, I got many years ago, I got cursed out by a woman on Black Planet because she
Oh
posted a
God,
picture
not Black
on her
Planet.
page, and we met up, and I looked at her like, wow, okay, yeah, and then she got mad at me because I wasn't interested. I'm like, yeah, you look a little different than your profile picture, but whatever.
And that
And
was
so,
before filters.
right.
Black Planet, we didn't have filters back then.
We
I
were
was
we were
I
we were thugging it out. Like we were in them streets.
what
Ain't
you
no
saw was
filters.
what you got.
Right. It was my, I was naive, and I was like, why are all her pictures just from the neck up? But
Oh Lord.
whatever. It's a crapshoot. But today, you don't know what you're gonna get. People
Yeah.
obviously have put their best foot forward, their best pictures with the best lighting, with the best filters. You know, 15 years ago, and then when you show up, okay, you don't realize, okay, that person, they don't look like that.
Mhm, mhm.
And so it leaves so much latitude for deception and for people to be inauthentic. And
Yeah.
for some, you're going to have those individuals that feel like, well, once we meet in public, then you'll maybe I can sell myself then. They're using the profile just to get their foot in the door.
Mm. The other thing I found when since we're talking about being dishonest is there are a lot of unhealed people. For lack of a better term, to me, their apps are like cesspools. Now,
Mhm.
I know that there is a percentage of the population there who are there legitimately looking for someone to share their life with. They have pure intentions. I know that there is a percentage of men and there is a percentage of women, however small that may be. But I honestly feel like they've left the original intent, which was to connect, to now they're like hookup sites, right?
Mhm.
And so what I encountered was a lot of men who were just out of relationships. They hadn't even, maybe they broke up a few days ago. I don't know, a
Mhm.
month ago, or they were just out of a marriage or mad at their mad at their girlfriend at the time. So they hop on an app to meet somebody to show her or to prove to themselves, hey, I still have it. Or they're just looking for, somebody to touch and agree with.
Touch and agree is one way of putting it.
Yeah, I didn't want
I
to say
know.
the other way, but they
Oh
just
yeah,
looking
no,
for touch
we're
and
gonna keep it
agree, you
clean.
know?
We're gonna
And
keep it
there are
clean.
sites for that. There are sites for that. So where I feel like if that's what you want, then that's the kind of site you need to go to, where it's you understand as soon as you log in, and that's what we're here to do, kind of thing. But if you're on a site that's for, relationships, and that's your intention, I think it's unfair, and I think it's dishonest, and um it's not cool to to
Yeah.
to present yourself as, hey, I'm looking for a relationship too, when you know that really all you want is to touch and agree with somebody.
Oh,
You think?
absolutely. I mean, you have, because there's nothing on that app to vet you or disqualify you.
Mhm.
And so you can say whatever. I mean, you have certain niche apps for people who believe in God, but I'm like, people on there, you got atheists on there. You got people, I'm like, but they know that's where, the men and women that they want are. It's and so you're gonna have it leaves too much room to be dishonest, and it happens to everyone. I know for me, I'm certainly an example of someone who hopped on an app, probably a month after my divorce. And for me, it was, always on my cell phone anyway, attached to my
Yeah.
Android for, both personal and business.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was a case of, well, I'm already lonely and heartbroken, but that doesn't mean I got to be alone. Doesn't mean I have to be all up in this house by myself, which is me and my dog. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see where the women at. And so, for me, a lot of people, even fresh out of a relationship or a marriage, it's like, okay, it's one way to not be alone on a Friday or Saturday night. And then you have those people who may have been chronically single for months or even years and trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to improve my chances? Because let's face it, if you're using it's online or whatever the case may be, it for some people is quantity. It's like, okay, the more people I meet, the better. And
Mhm.
so, um, give me one moment. I need to plug in my laptop. Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry, my battery's about to
Not a
die.
problem. Not a problem. So we are talking about online dating, the pros, the cons, and right now we're talking about dishonesty. And so I'm gonna say again, I think it's unfair if you are on an app and your intentions are untoward. I think you should always communicate your reasoning for being there honestly to the person that you've matched with. So I'm not judging, and I'm not saying, you shouldn't run to an app right after a breakup. I don't personally, I don't think that's a good idea. But should you do that, I think you should always be honest with the person. They may be with it, for all you
Hmm.
know, they may be with it, and maybe in the same boat, and may just want what you want. But I think it's dishonest to mislead. And the other thing is, there are a lot of married people living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed,
On
uh,
dating apps.
couples on dating apps.
Oh
And
yeah, that's happening a lot. That's happening a whole lot. You may not realize the man or woman that you're sharing a bed with every night, or you have children with, or share bills with, the case may be, they may be on a dating site. Maybe it may be a general dating site. It may be one of those, lifestyle dating sites. And again, a lot of people, unfortunately, really aren't honest about who they are, what they're looking for, and what their intentions are. Because if you're truly honest, and I say this so many times, no matter what you're into, there is a tribe out there for you.
Mhm,
There is a tribe of men and women who are into the exact same thing you're into, but you have to be courageous enough to even admit it. Not only admit it, to the person you're across the screen with, but admit it to yourself, like, hey, I'm a good person. I'm looking for a relationship. I want to settle down, but I don't want to be restricted to just one person.
mhm,
That's who you are, that's okay. The problem is presenting yourself otherwise to someone who may look for monogamy, who requires monogamy. That's not your bag. But you have a lot of people who agree to it, knowing good and well that being with one person is not what makes them happy. They're miserable sleeping with one person. But hey, they found someone they like, they were attracted to. they were too afraid or too much of a punk to just admit, like, look, I love you, I like you, I want to share my life with you, but I do want to sleep with other women from time to time. You have some women who are like that. Some women are like, look, I don't want to be with just one husband. Maybe I want two, or maybe I want a husband and a side piece. It's all about, can you be honest about what your true intentions are? Can you be honest about who you are and what you
Yeah.
really want? Because again,
Yeah.
no matter what you want, there's a tribe of people who want the exact same thing. You just got to find your tribe.
And I think it's greed because you're right. There's somebody on the other side of the screen who's into the exact same things that you're into. The pool is going to be smaller,
Mm-hmm.
probably, right? And you might not want to stick to that smaller pool, but it's
You may not like people
unfair.
in there.
Yeah, yeah, it's not fair though to kind of get into a pool of people that you're not aligned with
Right.
and
I agree.
mislead them, hurt them, deceive them, when you really want to be over there. So um, that's one of the cons is the dishonesty. I encountered a lot of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like the sites have become magnets for, and I'm not going to say they were always that way because I feel like maybe 7 years ago, 7 to 10 years ago, it wasn't this bad. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like every kind of derelict, every kind of fringe person, they're in jail, they're on the dating apps, they're on house arrest and the other dating apps. They have just gotten out of jail. They were in prison for their felons, um, domestic violence, and worse, and they're on these apps, and there's no way for you to screen. There's no kind of screening process whatsoever. They don't do background checks. And
Mm-hmm.
we've all heard the stories of people that have met on the dating app, and the first date, somebody's unalived and eaten or buried in the back of the house, or uh, it's the mess. It's a mess. So there's no way to screen. You don't know who you're talking to.
Right. You don't
Really.
that person. You don't know which halfway house they're living in.
Mhm,
Because again, I think that, and for those who are Gen X or older millennials, you
mhm.
understand that there was a time back in the day where there was stigmata involved in computer dating or
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that in the 90s. Yeah, people who found dates on ads or computer dating, it was almost people were ashamed to admit it,
Yeah.
because the people felt like there was this air of desperation, like
Mhm,
if you're doing this and you must be desperate. This is now we're talking about 30 years later. We're talking present
mhm.
day 2025. There's no stigmata.
Yeah.
Anybody, doesn't matter. The regular 9 to 5er or celebrities. You can find people, of great influence. Everyone is using. So many people. I'm not going to say everyone. So many people are availing themselves to apps. Whether they be general apps or apps that are specific to a certain group or subgroup. There
Mhm.
are people out there like, look, if I can do my work on my phone, if I can file my taxes on my phone, if I can, start an LLC from my phone, why can't I find love on my
Yeah.
phone? And so you're going to have more and more people who are flooding these apps, and the people who are developing these apps, they know it, and they're making money off of it, making money hand over fist. So but you have to understand there are inherent risks,
Mhm.
to these, and like you discussed, dishonesty. That's a big issue. If you do enough dating, there's already dishonesty pervading meeting people just in the real world.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, you can meet people at church. Doesn't mean they believe in God. Doesn't mean they serve the
Mhm.
same God you do, but there's already dishonesty. I think the apps just make it easier to be dishonest.
Yeah. And it also gives you the illusion of options, right? So I feel like because you have
Absolutely.
people liking profiles, liking pictures, inboxing you, hey, or hi, beautiful, or hey, handsome, or flirty, flirty, it gives people this false sense of, I have a lot of options. I don't have to stick to one person because I have all access to all of these people, when in reality, probably 80% of them are unsuitable. They're either
Absolutely.
on there looking for a hookup, taking a break from their real partner, a cheater, a liar, abuser. They're on drugs. They have some kind of weird predilections, right? I'll say it like that.
Look at you with
Um,
PRE words.
they're
Bust it out.
violent. They're violent, non-committal, serial cheaters. So probably about 80% of those people, once you sift through, are unsuitable. Then you start to whittle it down, and it's just like if you had met them at the grocery store. You have to take time to talk and vet, and
Mhm.
that lessens the number. Maybe now you're down to 10%. And then and it's wash, rinse, repeat. And so,
Mhm.
you know, I know that apps aren't going away. I have softened my stance because I swore them off after
They're
after
gonna be
what,
here for a while.
2020, what is this? 25, 24, probably 2024, the top of 2024. I was like, So, I'm very, for me, it's a no, but I understand that they're not going away. That it's too readily available for us. You can get on at any time of the day or night, and somebody's there
Always.
winking or
Someone always has their green light on, no
yeah,
matter
yeah.
what. And
It's always there. Yeah.
no matter, even if you look at something like a Facebook,
Hmm.
you're always gonna have that segment of Facebook, people you may know. Like, look at
Hmm.
all these options I got, all these cute faces. I'm like, oh, she cute. Oh, she pretty. Oh, okay. How many mutual friends we got? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna send her a message. Grand Rising Queen. Yeah, all that dumb stuff. So you're right. You're absolutely right. It makes you think that the world is your oyster. I got options. Look, if it don't work out with Shorty over here, I got all these other women liking my pic or liking my comments or liking my pictures. I'm just gonna message them. And reality is like, well, they don't mean just because they like your comment, they don't mean they're gonna like you. I mean they're gonna like your receding hairline or your height or your bad hygiene or the fact that you haven't been to the dentist in 4 years. They just like your comment. Or they like this picture you
Yeah.
put up from your college days, knowing good and well you ain't that weight anymore.
Yeah.
It does give the illusion that I don't have to be with one person because I have
Mhm.
so many available options, at my disposal. When in reality, not really. It's not always the case. So I think you brought up a great point. That does unfortunately influence people's decisions. Um, but again, social media is just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's
Yeah.
it's um, it's something that a lot of people rely on heavily. But then you have some people, even if you don't go the online dating app route. I've done this before. Some people can be organic and just find love through, a hookup through their friends. Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. I got a coworker that's really nice. I think she's your type. Or this person I go to church with, or whatever the case. Some people find love that way, and there are a lot of success stories of people. You've had people I've helped broker a couple of
Mhm.
relationships that materialize in a marriage, because I want to see people happy. I want to see good people find one another, and so
Yeah.
that's one route that some people take in lieu of online dating. Like, hey, I definitely know what it's like to ask someone, and I've been asked, hey, can you hook me up with your friend? Can you hook me up with your line sister? She real cute. She got somebody, stuff like that. That's
Mhm.
one way, people do it because I can't fault people who, maybe just meeting someone out at a social event, it may not be their thing, or some people are too busy. Um, some people don't have the money to get a matchmaker,
Yeah.
which I don't. Matchmakers, I never understood that practice anyway. The more I got into it, the more I started talking with matchmakers. Um, that's another racket all in itself. But as long as you have smartphones, then these online dating apps, they're just going to get more and more pumped with steroids because more and more people are going to join.
Do you think there's I know you said there's not a stigma anymore, but do you think that women who are on dating apps are perceived a certain way, just by virtue of them being on the app by the men that are also on the app? Is there a perception that uh, I do believe there's a segment of the population that believes that when a woman is on a dating app that she's desperate, to some degree. I do believe that there are some men who feel like, oh my gosh, she's on an app, she can't meet, and treat you accordingly. But do you think you're a man? I can't speak for men. That's just my theory. But what do you think about that?
Well, I acknowledge the fact that there are men who feel that way. I'm a 45-year-old black man raised in the South, but I do have a progressive kind of mindset when it comes to things like that. I myself would never look at a woman as desperate like that, but then that's just me. Some other men in my age group may feel a different kind of way based on how they grew up, or their values, their principles. I do acknowledge the fact that you have some men that will look at a woman on a dating app as easy target or prey, or, just more accessible than the woman, that works at Bloomingdale's or something like that. And so you are going to have those men. And I mean, but you're going to have that regardless. You're going to have men who feel like a woman making the first move is desperate, or she's desperate because of she's wearing that low dress or that low skirt, or she's desperate because she's at a club, she's at the, I've seen that, or I've heard that, as far as women going on girls trips or going to the club as a group, they must be desperate, stuff like that. So it really, oh yeah, oh absolutely. I mean, trust me, I went to all male school. I'm in a fraternity. I heard a lot of opinions from men as far as how they view women. But yes, no, I agree with you. You definitely will have those men who there is going to be some stigmata when it comes to a woman just having a profile on a dating app. And it's, those men that it is what it is. It's like those, I wouldn't recommend those men but they're out there. They definitely exist.
Another thing I found, though, too, even in getting in a relationship with, from someone that you meet on an app, is a lot of times those people stay active on
They
the
forget
site.
to,
So
forget
it's
to
like
disengage.
they never fully let go of the app. They may deactivate temporarily their profile, but they're still sniffing around on the apps. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like how Oprah said, when you get money, it magnifies, like who you really are. So if you're a bad person and you get a lot of money, it magnifies that. I kind of feel the same way with these apps. Is if you're a man or woman who lacks integrity, you battle lust, and you're a liar. And I think the more the more is not better for you. I feel like it's hard to control yourself. And I don't know if you can really, part of me is like, I don't know if I could really trust somebody that I met on an app. I mean, my experience has been, no, I could not. That's not to say that there's not a trustworthy person on the app, but it just kind of feels like the men I've encountered, and the men that I may know personally who use the apps, it was not for the best reasons. And
Yeah,
so,
it may not be. It may. I think one of the first mistakes that a lot of us make, including myself, is if you're on a dating app, never assume that people want the exact same thing you want. We're just all together. This is the vessel that we all find ourselves in together. But just because I'm here and have a profile, just like you have a profile, don't assume. Even with the words, even with the lies on my profile page, or the picture from 1999 when I had stuff like that. The assumption is, oh, they may want the exact same thing I want. No, that's not always the case. Because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's just a way to get their foot in the door. If I have to tell you, and I'm not saying me personally, I met, the woman I'm with now, I met her on Facebook. I slid in her DMs, and, we've been together ever since and been happy.
yeah. And she looks happy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I think I had something to do with that.
I love that for y'all.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, I have heard, the other part is I've heard men and women, when we talk about you enter into even when you get into a relationship
Mhm.
and you still have their profile picture still active or that profile active. I've heard the rationale. People say, well, you're single until you get married. And
Mhm.
I always believe, okay, yeah, single from a tax standpoint, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're uninvolved. You are involved with someone.
Yeah.
You're involved with someone who believes that you have deactivated or deleted that profile. But you do
Mhm.
unfortunately have those individuals that feel like until there's a ring on someone's finger, until we exchange vows, I am a single man or I am a single woman. And they
Mhm.
live through that. I mean, there are some people who are very committed to that mindset, like, okay, until it becomes quote unquote permanent, then you should never burn your bridges. Uh, you should never
Go
burn your
off, sis. Let us
See,
know.
I know, right? But I've heard even in my group, even in Ringside, you have those individuals that feel like, well, until we're married, then I'm going to
Mhm.
do what I do. And I'm like, well, you're still being dishonest. You're still
Mhm.
being inauthentic because the person you're with thinks you are monogamous or thinks you have deleted your profile. When in
Mhm.
actuality, no, you have your little cell phone. It's
Mhm.
connected to your hand 24/7. And when you're not with your significant other, you're, swiping right on other people's profiles. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's as pervasive with a lot of men and women. So you have to, I one of the things that in my transparency, not long after we started dating, I told my girlfriend, look, these are the codes to my phone.
Mhm.
This is how you can get in my phone. If I'm in the shower or anything, you can answer it. I have nothing to hide on my phone. I believe in full transparency. Because I was saying, like, there ain't no dating profiles of me active right now. And
Yeah.
so you have to kind of, um, you have to understand that there are individuals out there they're going to have that mindset. It's unfortunate. You have to just ask, like, are your dating profile? I know we met on this site, and that's how we connected. Now that we're in a relationship, we have titles. Has that profile been deleted? Or is it still active? And sometimes you just have to really just be upfront and direct. Like, is that profile still active?
Mhm. Yeah, and assuming the person that you are with has integrity and is gonna tell the truth. So,
Absolutely.
I've encountered people that would, just like I'm looking at you right now, would say, "No, it's not active," and sure
Oh,
enough,
it's fine.
sure enough, late in the midnight hour, if you log in, you see their little peanut head, on
Right.
there
Is it
surfing, so
right? Last time active. Oh, 5 hours ago. Okay. Okay.
he was
So, and
rolling when
again,
we were on the phone talking, so
right, right.
yeah,
I'm like, we just celebrated an anniversary, and
yeah.
people, yeah. I've even in my group, I've seen people get busted. Um, again, I'm real big. The people that know me in real life know that I'm very big on fidelity. I'm very big,
Mhm.
big on monogamy. If I'm with you, I'm just with you, and
Yeah.
it's like that for me for a myriad of reasons. One of the reasons, not the top reason, but one of the reasons is, it's like I've explained to frat brothers and other guys. Eventually, you're gonna get caught. You're not
Mhm.
that smart to get away with it for a long. Eventually, if you do enough dirt out there, either through an inbox message or a screenshot or something,
Mhm.
eventually you're gonna get caught. So why even put someone through that? Why, if you can't be monogamous, it's okay. Just convey that to someone. Give them a choice. Give them a
Yeah.
choice to say, no, this ain't for me, or okay, let's work with that. But eventually you're gonna get caught up. Somebody gonna find out what you've been doing and bust you.
Yeah, it's greed because the reason people leave things out when they're telling their story is because they know if they told you the truth, you'd probably be gone in a New York minute. And they don't want that. They want the cake and they want to eat it too. And so that involves deceiving one or both or however many parties are involved. So let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about um, the profiles. So I'm curious to know how men perceive the profiles of women because we're Gen Xers, so I'm the younger generations. I mean, that's a whole different animal. I can't really speak to any of that because that's not my
Right.
generation. But for the Gen Xers, how are women perceived on dating apps when they are dressed in next to nothing? Um, I know some will say, well, it's a double standard. We shouldn't be judged, whatever. How are women though, from a man? I want you to kind of speak to how women in our age demographic are viewed when their profile pictures are really revealing or provocative, or they're wearing next to nothing. What, as a man, what are you assessing her to be when you see that?
Oh, she's instantly catapulted into hoe category at that point because, and I've done that. I've looked through the same lens, when I was single, and I'll encounter women's profile pages. If I see too much skin, if I see too much twerking, or see too much, butt crack, it just only thing it means is that I'm not interested in you as far as anything serious like courtship. Anything else, it doesn't mean I'd be disrespectful. It doesn't mean that, as a man, it doesn't give you the right to disrespect a woman like that because
Mhm.
she's wearing, this outfit compared to another outfit, but for me, it just means that, okay, the kind of woman that I want to, potentially one day represent my last name, or
Mhm.
bear my children, be the first example of what a woman is to my children. I don't want her to have an online footprint of her boobs out or her decolletage, for the world to see. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. The kind of woman I'm looking for is not going to do that. Is not going to, put herself out there. But again, I also recognize it's that woman's choice.
Mhm.
Maybe she's, and some men don't care. There are definitely some men who want that trophy, or I've encountered a lot of men who they intentionally look for a woman that every man wants, every man lusts after, or whatever case may be. And, I say, teach their own, mazel tov. It's just not for
Mhm.
me. If I'm looking for something serious, someone to introduce to the other people in my life I care about and to plan a future with, then that's just me. I'm like, I don't want her to be online showing the world all that. But that's just my standpoint. Only thing it does is just means, okay, my interaction with you, it won't be about the future. It won't
Mhm.
be about, just stuff that may happen, concerning long-term commitment, courtship, or even marriage. It just means, okay, what you doing Saturday night,
Mhm.
or just means. And I also feel like if that's the case, then what we have has a very small shelf life.
Mhm.
So don't get comfortable. Um, and I do know, I recognize that a lot of men share that opinion. So I would tell anybody, but I mean, I would say this about that with men. I'll say that to
Mhm.
guys, like, be mindful if you're on these profiles and you sag in your pants, or your profile pictures is a picture of you throwing up your middle fingers, or something else that looks whole ass immature. You got to be mindful that you may be perceived a certain kind of way. A woman who's looking for something more substantial, she may not want to waste her time with a man who can't pull his
Mhm.
pants up, or a man that wearing a do-rag underneath a fitted hat, or for the case that may not be her cup of tea. So you have to be mindful of these things because people, I don't know your personality. I can't. I just logged into your and saw your profile page,
Mhm.
and the only thing I have is just your picture and text. And your picture, that's what gives me the first impression. So if I can look at, your picture and how you're dressed, and I can already see your moose knuckle, then this ain't gonna go that far. I can already tell you. That's one of those things. Like, trust me, we don't get comfortable around me. We're not gonna know each other that long. So,
Yeah.
but there's certain things I would say you have to be cognizant of and be mindful of that. And they've done research on, they've done actual studies on this, as far as, how people perceive profile pictures, the words you use in your dating profile, so on and so forth.
You have to be careful about what you lead with.
Hmm.
And, if I'm a woman, and true enough, it's your prerogative, like Bobby Brown said, you do what you want to do. but you don't escape the consequences of your actions just because it's your prerogative to do something. So if you're leading with hips and thighs and boobs, and every picture, your butt is facing the camera, don't you should not be surprised if the bulk of your inboxes, your DMs are filled with men who are looking for that from you, because that's what you're
Mhm.
presenting. You could be a wonderful woman with a wonderful heart, brilliant, degreed, successful, and all of those things, but you will be reduced down to um, the hips and thighs, and I know you could be covered from, for some, with some men you could be covered from head to toe,
Mhm.
right? And they're still going to objectify you, and they're still going to try that. They're going to lead with that. But I believe that percentage is much smaller
It's
than
much
the
fun.
group of men that, if you present that way, if that's the first thing they see when when they open up your profile, is everything that God gave you, um, you're kind of going to get what you're looking for. Same with men that lead with money.
Mhm.
Um, you got to show your cars, or we're assuming it's your car, right?
We're
Your
assuming that's
house
we're
and
assuming
lots of money, and then get upset when,
you get
she's
used
like
for it.
asking you to pay her rent, asking you to buy her shoes and bags. So it's the
Like,
same
bro,
with
you put
women.
yourself out there like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking you got it. Why do we have to go 50-50 if you are, you know what I'm saying? And so I just think it's really important that you pay attention to um what you lead with, right?
The
Unfair or
bait,
not.
be
Yeah.
mindful of the bait you're using.
Hmm.
Just understand, the type of cheese you put out there, you're going to attract, certain kind of rats. And it is what it is. I mean, I've had to have a conversation a couple of times online, in women's forums. Yeah, you look. If you feel empowered to dress a certain way, then look, I'm gonna support you. Because again, I'm not going to police how a woman dresses. Dresses
Hmm.
how you feel comfortable, but
Yeah.
don't come back to me and wonder why your inbox is full of dick pics. I'm like, okay, this like really? Like, are you really that surprised? Like, come on.
No, they shouldn't
Uh,
be.
don't be surprised. I mean, and for some women, it becomes a trial and error. Like, I would say, what, cover up, try something different and see what kind of responses you get. Um, but not, yeah, no, I've definitely been guilty of that. I've been guilty of that 100%, whether it be from Black Planet, from MySpace to Facebook. Yeah, if I see your profile and I see you, you spread eagle and, your boobs out, and then you got a tattoo that says only God can judge me. Yeah, I already know what category I'm putting you in. And it's not long term. And so you have to be mindful of stuff like that, because people, like it or not, people judge. People will judge off their first impressions of you. And from your profile picture or the pictures you choose to put on your timeline, I shouldn't know what color panties you got on right now. Or you wearing a red thong right now. I'm like, okay, that you're telling me something. You're telling me without telling me. And so based on that, I know, okay, this will be the tone and tenor of my messages, when I
Mhm.
message via inbox.
And men are hunters by nature. Most men. I understand that there's a segment of that population that, they want you to chase them. They all of that. We're not talking about those. Those are not the ones you
We,
want.
we ain't talking about those.
We don't want those men. Those are feminine men. But actual men, they are hunters, and they
Mhm.
assess while they're hunting. And so, they look over here, light work. I can knock her down, this later this week if I want to. They put
Oh
us
my
in
God,
categories.
you've been around some men. I ain't heard you hear I can knock that
I
down.
have I have sons. I have sons, and I have male friends, and I pay it. I'm in a lot of different online forums, and I hear and see it all. And I am telling you that even at our big age, they still will put you in a category. It doesn't matter about feminism. It doesn't matter about your right to this, that, and the third. You will be lumped into a category. And that's your
Well,
right
I
to
should
be
be
there.
able
I'm
to
not
wear what I
saying you,
want. I should be able to wear what I want to wear. I'm like,
yes,
you
you
got,
can.
yes, you
Yes, you
can.
can. Yes, you can. You can be on OnlyFans. You can do all the things if you want to. But I am
Oh,
telling
don't,
you
don't get me
that
started on OnlyFans. Oh my
it's your
gosh.
right
Yes,
to
that is
do
absolutely,
that.
again, I will never, there will never be a day and time where I um, besmirch someone for their right to wear
Mhm.
what they want to wear. Do you feel comfortable in the skin you're in? If you're comfortable, look, you got, if you 70 years old, feel comfortable wearing a tube top, spread eagle, look, who am I to tell you otherwise? I'm not.
Mhm.
That's your ministry, and I'm not going to judge your journey. Um, you just not somebody I'm introduced to my 70-year-old friend, or something like that, or because again, sometimes you may be viewed as the good time girl, like you're here for a good time, not a
Not
long
for a
time.
long time.
Yeah, not a
Yeah,
long time, you're here for a good
yeah.
time,
And
and maybe
sometimes I think,
that's not
go ahead.
sometimes for some women. That's all they. I had one of my group admins who had to really correct me and put me in my place one day, and she let me know, Troy, you got to understand, some women that's what they want too. Not every woman on a
Mhm.
dating profile or on social media is looking to get married. Some women are only here for a good time, and that's all they want as well. So I think that as a man, and when she said it to me, it really made me stop and think, like, okay, as a man, don't assume every woman out there is looking for marriage or chasing after a husband. Like, we can't always make that assumption. I know we like to, and we like to feel like marriage is the carrot that we can use to manipulate and
Yeah,
to string women along. But truth be told, not some of these women are really not interested,
yeah.
and they're using those profile for a reason. Maybe they are just looking for a one night stand, or maybe they're just looking for a situationship.
I think when women fall into that category, I think it's because they've been disappointed time and time and time again that they just give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not all of them, but I do believe that that a portion of those women have just given up the hope that they, will ever meet someone. And you get tired of the hoping and the wishing and the singles conferences and the all those things. And
Podcast.
so it's just like, look, this is as good as it's going to get. So let me just enjoy this ride for however long it lasts, and then I move on to the next thing. And then, I think women break their own hearts. Um, oops, they break their own hearts because they meet someone, and then you realize in the course of talking to that person that they're Mr. Good Time, not Mr. Here for a long time. And so you've already put your eggs in that basket and you stick around, and
Mm-hmm.
he does what he does, and then you end up brokenhearted. So I think women have to be honest about who they've caught through these apps,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anybody can say anything at the outset, right? They can say, hang the moon and the stars on your eyes, and you're so wonderful, and you're wife material, and I've never met anybody like you before, and my search is over, and you're the most beautiful, all the things that they say to us, right? But then
Push
it's
that
up to
game.
you.
It's called
It's
game.
up to you. It's up to you to be honest, though. Ask the questions, go slow, assess, what you have before you've invested so much that it's hard for you to walk away. And so I just think that I just I'm anti-app, but I'm not crazy enough to believe that people are going to stop using them. So I'm more
Mm-hmm.
of an advocate of you being smart if you're going to get on them. We've all heard the horror stories, bad things happening to men and women. So you just want to keep your eyes open and pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
and don't hesitate to walk away if you realize that perhaps you're wrong about the person. Maybe they're not really who they presented themselves to be. Maybe you've gotten to a juncture where you thought you wanted the same things, but now you realize they don't really, they want you to be part of a harem, or they don't want marriage now, or they don't want long-term commitment, or they just want to see where things go. Like, women have to start putting our feet down,
Mm-hmm.
not our foots, our feet down, and walking away. And I believe that there are good men out there. I'm going to always champion Black love. I'm going to always champion good men, and I'm going to always champion good women, because I believe that um, eventually we'll find each other. And
Mhm.
so anything that's not that, get rid of it. Like, it's a new year. Don't hang on to that stuff just because, you've been hanging on to it. Let it go. Just let it go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
let's go ahead.
no, I was going to say one suggestion I would have for anybody. I mean, you were mentioning with women, I would say getting on these profiles, don't from day one be too serious or
Mm,
too invested. Don't go, the first man that sends you a message or the first man that swipes right. That's not the time to go write his name all over your notebook and start matching your name with his last name. No, keep it light because you
yeah.
don't know the person. Don't. So it's not time to start planning out a future just with the first, individual you meet on a profile. Keep it very light. You're gonna have to invest time.
Hmm.
And yeah, if they turn out to be the person that they actually present, then great, you're winning. They turn out to be a fraud, okay, keep it moving. You didn't invest that much. It's just, you know, excommunicate him out your life and on to the next one.
Hmm. Go slow, and I'm guilty of, going like going super fast, when there's chemistry, and I'm a cerebral person. And so I really like smart men. And so, that's I guess sapiosexual, I guess that would make me. But
Hmm.
you really have to go slow, and everyone's perfect initially, and you can't really believe everything that you're told. And so take all the time you need to feel comfortable before you go to the next step. So chat for a little bit on the app. Sometimes a few exchanges on the app will let you know, no, this is not someone that I want to give my number to. This is not someone I want to chat with further. Block. Okay.
Hmm.
And even when you decide, hey, we're going to go to the next step, with the vibes are good with us chatting in the app. When you want to give your number, you can get a Google number, right? Or one of those text now numbers, or whatever they're using. You don't necessarily have to give out
Your real
your
number.
real phone number, because there's a lot of information attached to your real phone number. So like, you can put a phone number in Cash App and get all kinds of information. And so, it's just, people are weird. So I would suggest for a woman to get a
A
Google
lot of
number,
weirdos out
or something else, because a lot of times, I know when I get weird phone numbers, I'll type the number in to Google, and then it'll pull up names and addresses and all these things. And so you just want to be careful, because you never really know who's on the other side of that computer screen. Um,
Safety
Dating.
first. You know,
Absolutely. And ask the questions. So if someone gets annoyed because you're asking questions, that is a huge red flag. Like, why can't I ask you questions?
let them go.
You
Let them go.
know?
Because if it's this bad asking questions, via an app, imagine sitting across the dinner table.
Yeah,
And
they should be able to tell you if they're married, if they're
why do you
divorced,
want to know?
how long they've been divorced, right?
All
And
of
you
them are
assume,
business.
I mean, maybe not in the first conversation, but
Hmm.
when you get to that point and you're asking these pointed questions, they should be able to answer them without hesitation. And so I met someone, and he straight up lied. I flat out asked him, how long have you been divorced? And he just lied. So it was very recent. But he gave me, like he said, I think he said 2 years, but it really was not,
2 weeks.
even a year, not even a year. But you got to do your due diligence. You got to do your research, ask the hard questions, and someone who has good intentions will answer them. And if you're getting too personal, they should be able to say, hey, wait a minute now.
But I don't know you like that. Like,
You digging a little bit here. I don't know, you know. So ask the questions. When you start dating, um, date in a public place initially. Like, you shouldn't be going on hikes in another state where nobody knows where you are. um, do it, meet publicly, go to the mall, or I don't know, where could they go publicly to date,
Go
Trey?
someplace where there are a lot of witnesses and
Oh.
cameras. Um, yeah, you don't want to end up on a cold case file episode. Um, people you somewhere stuffed in a tin drum someplace.
Mhm.
Like, no, like go someplace where there's a lot of security cameras, a lot of witnesses, and there's nothing wrong with, letting a friend or a family member know, hey, I got a date. We're meeting at this
Yeah.
restaurant at this time. Just, this is his alleged name and whatever.
Mhm.
It's, because I'm really big about that. I'm really big on safety.
Mhm.
Um, don't yeah like you said, don't be traveling across state lines and not telling people like, okay, now like what happened, like, well, they're so prompt at work, but we haven't seen them. And like, yeah, don't be that
Yeah.
person. Don't be
Yeah.
we talk about, we mentioned earlier in the show, being desperate, and like, don't be that desperate for love and companionship that you just throw safety and caution out the window. Like, no, still need to protect yourself because you don't know the person.
Yeah, and give as much information, identifying information about that person to your loved ones, like first and last name, the phone number you have for them. They should be, what kind of the make and model of their car, if you can get a
Mhm.
license plate. They should know where you live, on the first date. I read a story where someone invited, they went on a date, they met on an app, went on a date. The date was fine. He called her back and was like, "Hey, I'm locked out of my place. Can I come to your place and wait until my roommate comes back," or something weird like that? And she was like,
Right.
"Okay." And so she let this man come over, and I guess in the middle of the night he was trying to get into her bedroom, and she got scared and called the police. And when the police got there, he had put like plastic over everything in her living room, like cover the couch and the counters with plastic. And I'm assuming he was going to unalive her, And so they took him away. But, use common sense. And just because you like somebody, make you feel all warm and fuzzy, or start tingling in places that haven't tingled in a long time.
Mhm.
Like you said, don't throw caution to the wind. Always, always, always be proactive about
Mhm.
keeping yourself safe, and do
I
not
mean,
ignore red flags.
be, you know, be aware, stay aware and I think that, maybe that should be its own show one day, is just, things that people should do to, practice safety, or thing, as
Mhm,
far as, the dating or beginning the dating process. These are things you may want to implement so you don't get unalived,
mhm,
because I'm like, fact of the matter, this has happened before to many, many people out there. So learn from this, like you said. There was a time back in the day, I remember in the 90s when I first started dating, where, you meet a woman at her home. You
mhm,
bring, you meet the woman at her home, you bring her flowers, and you meet, the parents, all that stuff. Yeah, I think enough time and enough tragedies have taken place. We realize,
mhm,
okay, no, meet someone out in public. They don't need to know what apartment or home or neighborhood you say. I'm like, you don't know that person. So on a
mhm,
first date, yes, we can meet at the restaurants,
mhm,
or if for some people, maybe they don't want to take the girl. I'm like, well, I'll Uber to the restaurants.
mhm.
You don't even know what kind of make and model of my car or something like that. It's all for safety reasons. Because again, you're right. There are some people out here in these dating apps or wherever you meet, they're crazy. They're
Mhm.
just, um, they shouldn't be out in the general public amongst us. They should be somewhere confined.
In El Salvador.
Right, Guantanamo somewhere. But unfortunately, they're in the dating pool with everyone
Yeah,
else. And so you
yeah.
have to practice precaution. So that should be its own TED talk in and of itself.
Online dating has made it really easy for those violent criminals, those predators, to find victims. And so we mustn't be naive to that fact. So exercise caution, at all times. It doesn't matter how well they present, how smart they seem, how handsome or beautiful they might be. I mean, women set men up all the time to be robbed and something goes
Hmm.
left and somebody's, unalived accidentally on
Oh,
purpose.
yeah.
So you just have to really, really be careful and assume. I hate to say it, but you almost have to assume the worst
Mhm.
until they show themselves to be, a trustworthy person.
Just,
But
yeah,
I,
keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel out here.
yeah.
I would say I don't care how smart you are, what HBCU you graduated from, how many degrees you have, you have to almost have a certain modicum of street smarts and
Hmm.
just understand, like you said. I mean, I've heard of those stories about, Morehouse brothers being set
Hmm.
up on dating apps. You meet, what you think is a baddie, and you end up getting robbed.
Hmm.
Or I mean, it's not funny, but it happens to both men and women. You think you're about to meet someone really great, you meet them in a specific location, and they rob you. Or
Hmm.
for some women, there are plenty. Online dating is a conduit for sex trafficking. You meet somebody, and the next thing you know, you're in Istanbul.
Hmm.
you know,
On Pornhub, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
being videos.
don't realize I'm like, you got an
Yeah,
OnlyFans account now. You didn't realize it.
yeah.
So you have to have a certain level of street smarts to understand. There you can't be too naive, and online dating is a platform that like you said, a lot of skeevy people or
Hmm.
people who need to be on medications. They're out there in a dating pool too.
And why? Like why are you on that? Why are you on the app and you need medication real bad right now? So it's um I know they're not going away, but please, if you're going to use online dating apps, we need you to be prudent. We need you to keep your head on a swivel. We need you to be honest with your family and friends about what you're doing, where you're going, who you're with.
Hmm.
Um, Share your location with people. Let them know when you arrive. Let them know when you make it home. You just really, unfortunately, that's the times that we're living in is people are looking for victims all the time. And so unsuspecting you who get on Christian Mingle looking for a saved man, you're just looking for love and little do you know.
He ain't saved.
Yeah.
The man ain't
Yeah, little
saved.
do you know. Yeah. Did you have any parting thoughts?
I would definitely say I think, once again, another great episode, great topic. I think it's a topic that needed to be flushed out because, like we talked about, if you have an iPhone or Android, maybe a BlackBerry, maybe even a flip phone, you have access to, some dating app, maybe a modern one, maybe a prehistoric one. But these dating apps, they understand that. So, the accessibility is everywhere, but you
Yeah.
still need to practice precaution. You still need to ask questions. And like you said, if someone is uncomfortable with questions, that's a red flag. That's a huge red flag.
Mhm.
But just be mindful. And again, for me, from my perspective, it doesn't have to be a stigma related to
Right.
someone having an online dating account. Because again,
Right.
I'm old enough to remember that was the 90s. You were considered desperate. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
desperate today. It's 2025.
Yeah.
A lot of people are online dating, so it doesn't have to be um, shameful.
Right.
But also, again, like we talked about, both men and women be cognizant of how you present yourself on your profile picture and the words, the text on your dating profile, because again, people will judge you.
Mhm.
So, is I'm not saying wear a burlap sack, but I'm also you don't have to you don't have to be spread eagle. So, I
Right.
was kind of find somewhere a middle ground or something like that. But just, I think these are some great takeaways. But once again, I think another great show.
Right. Again, it's always a good time when you're here. I love having you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again before the year's out. Again, I want everybody to find love,
Mhm.
whether it's through a dating app, whether it's at church, whether it's at a kickback somewhere, whether you accidentally bump into someone on the street, doesn't matter to me. But I just would implore women and men who are on those sites to be careful. As strategic as you are when you're buying a car or buying a house or buying shoes, you need to be that picky with who you allow to have access to you in 2025. So you can find
Indeed.
me across all social media platforms at I am Belle Morgan. I did want to take a minute and dedicate this show to Tracy Davis Spraggins, who is a Tuskegee alum, or was a Tuskegee alum. And she reached out to me after the show that I did on I think it was us that we did the show on healing after a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
How to get through breakups and divorce. And so she reached out to me, and I had we actually at the end of last year had like a 2-hour conversation about divorce and healing, and we were very transparent and vulnerable with one another. And she had a lot of significant health challenges, and I found out that she lost her battle earlier this month. So one, I wanted to say, life is short. So be kind to people. When someone reaches out to you, you never know why. I think there was a lot of healing that was done in our conversation that we had at the end of last year. And also, if you have what you feel is a calling, if you feel a business, it doesn't matter if you just have one person following you or no followings. Do it, because you just never know who's watching. You just never
Mm-hmm.
know who's going to be touched by what it is you're doing. And I just say, go for it. Because I would have never known had she not reached out to me after the show about some things. And so I like to think that in her last few months of life, that was a high point. I know it was for me. So again, thank you for tuning in. I am Belle Morgan. He is Tre Amazing. You can find me across all social media platforms at I am Belle Morgan. And we can find you where? Where can we find you on social?
You can find me on Instagram at the dating commentator. Also, if you can, please go to my YouTube, youtube.com/ringside LLC. Please subscribe to the channel. View my videos, like, comment, share, do the whole deal. But yeah, that's me. So hit me up. Check out my content and
HBCUs supporting each other. HBCUs.
come on, Maroon Tigers. Y'all, come on now. Come on. Gotta get
Have
with
a
it.
wonderful evening, and I will talk to you again real soon.